Okay, think I'm live. Come on, YouTube. Yeah, okay, alright. Yeah, okay, I'm live. Alright, so, let's just jump right into this live stream. It might be a pretty short one. I don't know. I'm pretty good at bullshitting a lot of nonsense for an hour. But I don't think there's I don't know. Let's just get into it. First, let's do some housekeeping around here. Actually, first let me take a sip of my drink. Good stuff. All right. So, yeah, a bit of housekeeping first before I get started. So, a few weeks ago, I posted my RPG Maker Has a Terrible Reputation video. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. It is, I don't want to call it in-depth. I mean, there's a lot more research I wish I could have done about the topic that I just didn't have access to the resources to get more information about it. But I guess just to keep this brief, we'll just call it an in-depth video about RPG Maker. The format was completely different than a lot of these typical live streams. It was actually pretty successful. I figured it would be. I had a suspicion that this was a video that would do pretty well. The nice thing about that video, although it's not like it's getting thousands and thousands of views, it's certainly not like that. However, compared to most of my previous live streams, what it does get is consistent views. It continues to get at least 1 or 2 views every day, which I know it's not a lot, but I mean, that's most of my live streams get, just one, they get their first views during the like week that I like during that first week, and then all the views kind of stop after that. So basically, in comparison to my regular live streams, which just get a burst of views and then it dies off, that previous video is doing very well because it continues to get regular viewership over time. Now, the reason I bring that up is because it gets regular viewership, it also attracts the attention of bots. I think now at this point, the bot flood has kind of passed, but definitely within its first week of release, I got a lot of spam in the comment section of that video. I'm sure if you're familiar with YouTube, you've been around YouTube for a little bit, you probably know about the spam problem that exists on YouTube. Go to any big creator and you'll just see their comment section just flooded with bots. And recently, YouTube had actually come out and spoke about the bot problem, and they're apparently attempting to do something about the bot problem on YouTube. We'll see if that happens. But the bit of housekeeping I want to do is addressing the spam problem, because even a small channel like mine still has to put up with it. There are a few features that are implemented that I don't know why they're not on by default in YouTube. Well, there's only one feature that I'm surprised is not on by default in YouTube, and that is being able to block links from comments. So the first bit of housekeeping I need to address is that I have enabled that function. So if you are someone who comments on my videos, do not comment a link at all. Do not comment a link because it will just automatically get blocked by YouTube, because I've set that setting up because unfortunately spam bots on YouTube have caused me to do that. Now, the other bit of housekeeping that is also related to that, YouTube also has the ability to allow me to blacklist certain words from comments, basically preventing you from leaving a comment that contains those words in it. I have always wanted to keep my comments open. Anyone can say anything from heinous to nice, whatever. However, the spam is annoying, and potentially risks other people who may fall for that kind of spam, and I don't want to put anyone at risk. And so I have blacklisted the words Telegram and WhatsApp. I thought about blocking Signal, because those are the 3 messaging apps that get often used in these comments. But unfortunately, signal is just common of enough word that it could potentially be used in a fairly normal comment on my channel. And like the word in general, signal, not as in the app. So yeah, I decided that I'm not going to block signal. However, WhatsApp is definitely a unique name, and so that's been blocked. And Telegram is not wholly unique, but it's very unlikely that anyone is going to be using the word Telegram, not the app's name Telegram, in my comment section, so I decided it's probably safe to block the word Telegram. So, yeah, that's the housekeeping that I need to go over, is that links have been turned off in my comment section. You can no longer post links in my comment section, and do not use the words Telegram or WhatsApp in my comments. Any three of those things that you do in the comments will automatically get your comment blocked. So, yeah, that is me letting you know now. So, anyways, let's first take a drink. It's good stuff. So, yeah, I wanted to do some game dev stuff. We'll flip over to here to my desktop. Look at the game. I don't think there's a lot that I want to go over today. So here's the thing. I guess since we're on the topic of YouTube, I've had a couple of successes recently with my YouTube channel in my of what I've called the phase 2 of the YouTube experiment, and it's gone pretty well. And yeah, let's talk about that later, actually. So what I do want to say before I move off of that is that I do want to continue doing game dev stuff, even though the game dev stuff performs poorly on YouTube. So, anyways, that's what today's video was planned to be, is game dev. So let's talk about that. And then, if I remember, after we kind of go over everything that I've worked on, then we can talk about YouTube and the future plans and all of that stuff. Yeah. So let's just jump into this. So what have I done this week? A lot, actually, but it's not a lot to talk about because I've just continued to work on the cave. So if we go over here, so I've shown this off before. So here is these corridors, and I use these corridors to separate the levels just for consistency. And also there's some minor processing that it doesn't necessarily need to be done before the level, but I prefer that this processing, this setup functions get done before entering the level. So these kind of act as a buffering zone before entering the level. So, and I have one for the east, south, west, and north corridor there. So anyways, and then we have this entrance foyer here, which also could have acted as the buffer if I really wanted it to. I do plan on using this area to also sort of act as a tutorial for one of the main mechanics that will be used throughout this level. But right now, none of the events or anything have been implemented. I've just been mapping out the area. I've mentioned I've also talked about the foyer already in previous streams, but concerning viewership, it feels kind of necessary that I have to recap all this stuff every time I do these streams, because otherwise you'll have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. But anyways, yeah, I haven't implemented any of the actual events. I've only been placing tiles because there is the mechanic that gets used here with the lava that I was talking about. Is sort of dependent on what number event it is. So I need to make sure that I'm ready to put the event onto the map in order to make sure that it is the correct number. Because if it's not the correct number event, then the event will break, or the whole puzzle mechanic will break, which is stupid. So, although I do have a solution for that, maybe I still haven't looked into it because I've just been focusing on you know, building the map. When I'm ready to actually start putting the events into the level, then I will start to consider whether that alternative option is a better choice than relying on the event having the specific event number ID. So yeah, I'll figure that out later. Anyway, so we have the foyer here. This is sort of the first part of the level and also kind of acts as a tutorial to one of the puzzle mechanics in the level. And then we have the central area. This is sort of just like a main hub that the player is going to return to. So I sort of, in a way, have designed both this level and the previous level sort of around this similar idea. Although in the previous level it wasn't nearly as obvious. Like, it's quite clear in this level that this is going to be a returning hub, because you have multiple entrances. Technically, here, here, and here, and here, and here are all unique entrances that the player will need to use. These stairs lead to the same place, so yeah, it's ignore those. So it's just 5, not 6, even though there's 6 entrances here. The stairs go to the same place, so you know, it's technically 5 unique entrances. So yeah, so I think it's pretty clear here that the players will need to return to this area multiple times. So it's a little bit more obvious here, but like in the Seas level, it's not quite as obvious, because what happens is when you first approach the level is there's really only, well, there's 2 clear paths, but one actually leads to a dead end. So really there's only one path forward that you're going to take. So it kind of doesn't look like this is going to be a hub area. So, you know, you'll go over here. That's going to take you here, which just kind of routes up and around, back over here, back to this area, but now you're up on top of the cliff here. And you will follow this main trail, which goes all the way up through this area, through here, and up through here. And then you'll get over here to where you finally access the boat. Now, once you have the boat, you realize this is kind of a main hub, because obviously with the boat, you can access all of the seas, and you can go to any of the islands, and also you can return back to the main area using the boat. So yeah, this sort of hub style dungeon, I guess you would call it, is kind of how I've planned these dungeons deliberately. It makes backtracking easier. In this level, backtracking is not really necessary, but I've provided plenty of options for it anyways. You'll be able to access right here. You can see these events here that give you a rope that goes down. So you can go either... So once you've come up here and you laid the rope down, then you can easily access this lower half or this upper half, and completely bypassing this part of the map. And then, of course, there's also a teleporter as well. This little thing right here is the fast travel that you can use to go there, or up here. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's just level design. And you can see that that's what the Cave Central is for that. And now I think last time I did some... last time I did a game dev stream, I had some of this, what I call the left ribbon, already mapped out. Which the left ribbon, you can technically access through either of these doors. But it's to actually complete the full ribbon, you need to start with the upper part. So that goes here, and you can see this is the entrance to the upper part. This is the entrance to the lower part. And so this had already been done in the previous stream, and you can see that there's this puzzle element to it. You'll have these water tanks here, and in this one, there's going to be a switch here. And the switch will control the water level in these tanks. If there's no water in the tank, then there's no fish. If there is water in the tank, then there will be a fish inside of it, and the player can grab this fish and use it to create a platform to jump across the lava. Yeah, and only one tank can be active at a time, so that's how that works. That's the rules there. So, anyways, yeah. So we have that, and then that goes, the player will, so the way that it works is that the player is going to basically start at the lower one here. You can't see it because of my camera. So the lower one down here. So the player will start here, and they're going to travel up this way. And as they travel up this way, they're going to, they're only going to be able to go up again. And so basically what this is basically, this is why I call it a ribbon, is because it's like a big oval shape loop. And what I've done here is, if we look, why do you got to bring that up? If you look here, you'll place the fish here and jump across. But the thing is with this fish mechanic is that the platform that it creates is has a time limit. And after that time has passed, the platform will disappear and therefore prevent the player from going backwards. So basically it creates a one direction of movement. So at that point, the player will be locked into taking this path because they won't be able to return back. So now, in order to get back to the central room here, they're going to need to go all the way around. And so the next room, that's not the next room, this is the next room. And this is the next room. I talked about this puzzle element before, and the way that it works is that the water is going to cascade down these tanks, and basically there's going to be 4 switches, and 3 of these switches are going to control a lock on the tank. So which tank will prevent the water from cascading? So if you put the lock on the first one, then the water will just fill up the top tank here, and it won't cascade down to the other tanks. If you press the second lock, then the water will cascade from the first one to the second one, but it will not cascade down to the third tank. And finally, obviously, if you push the third lock, it will just lock the water into this tank, and it won't flow out of the tank. So you have 3 locks, and then the last lever just tells it to fill with water. So, yeah, so that's how that puzzle element works, and I'm a little bit anxious on how the fuck I'm gonna execute that. I have, like, a rough idea of how to, like, execute that in the game, but it might be kind of difficult to do. So I'm not exactly looking forward to that, but I think I'll figure it out, maybe. So anyways, the main point is to figure out which tanks need to be locked in order to jump across to go to the other side, right? So you need to get over here. Now the big challenge is, here's the puzzle. You need 2 fish. You have to use a fish to jump from here to here, and you have to use a fish to jump from here to here. So how do you get 2 fish? That's the question. That's the puzzle. How do you get 2 fish out of controlling these locks? So anyways, that's a puzzle. And last time I had streamed, I think I had left off on, I was still designing this room. So this room is finished now. As you can see, all the detailing has been added in. It's been fully mapped out, and it is ready for me to place the events to control all that. So yeah, let's just move on. So the next room that you go to is what I call the merge. So this is where the ribbon loops back around on itself to go down to the lower section, the access from lower to upper section of the map. I don't think there's going to be a lot of purpose to this room other than just kind of being like a breath of fresh air. I might throw an enemy in here. I think actually I planned on putting an enemy down here on this little platform. So you'll kind of mostly be able to catch a fresh breath of air and have a little bit of a fight. I haven't completely decided yet whether I want to do this or not, but I was thinking, since there's all this water in here, and, you know, the fish are a main mechanic, I thought it might be fun to throw some fish in here. To be clear, I didn't mention this earlier, although I did mention in my previous dev stream, the fish cannot be carried from room to room. If you try to leave the room with a fish in your inventory, it will jump out of your inventory. So, yeah, so the fish is just for that room. So having a bunch of fish in here for the player to just catch is nothing but just a fun little thing they can do. I guess you could call it a mini game, although it's not really that. And I figured maybe I might throw some sort of funny interaction in there just to say thanks, player, for interacting with all the fish or something. I don't know. So anyways, that might happen. I don't know. That'll happen whenever I'm setting up the events, and I'll decide then whether I want to throw a bunch of fish in here or not. So before circling back around, there's a whole purpose to this whole ribbon loop that I've been talking about. There are 2 ribbons in this dungeon, right? And both ribbons need to be completed. And that's because if we go back to the central room here, these stairs, the black section here is not going to be black in the game. I need to put an event there, and to remind you, I haven't placed any events yet. I've just been mapping it out. So for the time being, it's just black. But the event that will be here will be sort of like busted stairs. You know, it'll be all damaged. And the purpose of one of the ribbons is to get a very strong chisel to fix the stairs, to re-chisel the stairs, to give access to the upper part. So that's what it is. It's kind of, I guess you could kind of consider it like a Zelda item. So you get the chisel in order to be able to access, in order to fix stairs to access other areas. So that's kind of what that does. So the left ribbon that we've been looking at is actually helping you get the chisel. So after going through all of that, coming up here, you'll see these stairs also have the black box on them because I haven't placed the event down yet. And so what that means is that first the player must go in here before they can go down there. And that leads you to the chisel room. So the chisel room is actually supposed to serve as a tutorial for, in a sense, the boss, I guess you could say, of the level. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for now, all you need to know is that there's going to be a few chests laid out throughout this room. And what the player will have to do is they will have a time limit in order to get the chests and bring the parts of those of what's in. Basically, there's going to be like I haven't completely decided what the item is, but for this example, let's just call it like key fragments. Like it's a broken key, and you need to get all the parts of the key to reassemble the key and bring it back to the chest. So, yeah, so that's what you have to do within the time limit. If you don't do it, then the whole thing resets. So that's the idea. That's the idea here, and I'm gonna come back to that in a minute because I want to talk about the boss for this level. So yeah, so after you've gotten your chisel, now you can go back to this room and you'll be able to interact with this area here, and that means you'll be able to move down the stairs. So now that you can move down the stairs, we can go to the lower ribbon here. And this part, I think, was also finished in my last dev stream as well. If it wasn't finished, then it was mostly finished. Again, excluding the events, because, once again, none of the events have been placed. So this room, no fish in this one. Basically, what the player needs to do is that there are 3 platforms that they need to summon. And in order to summon those platforms to get across, they have to kill 3 enemies. And that's all it is just kill those 3 enemies in order to summon the 3 platforms. So it's that simple. And then, finally, that brings you to this door here, and that door will bring you back to this one. This room here. you'll come in right here. And now that you have the chisel, you'll be able to access these stairs here. And after you access those stairs, you can interact with this puzzle again, but now you want to put the fish in this tank down here. So that way you can grab the fish, come back up, throw the fish here so you can jump across, and exit out of the ribbon. And that ribbon has been solved. So, we'll go back to Cave Central. So now this ribbon has been solved, so that leaves the other ribbon. And this is where I'm currently working on this level. Now, it's mostly finished on this side, but not wholly finished. We'll take a look at it, though, anyways. So, from Cave Central, here is the entrance room for the right ribbon. And now it's kind of flipped the opposite way around. So before, in order to complete the ribbon, you need to start from the upper level and loop around, move to the lower level, and then come back and exit out, right? So this one's kind of the opposite, where now you need to start at the lower level, loop around, go up, and then come across. Which is kind of funny to mention. That is completely contrary to the idea that I originally had for this level. If you've been someone who's like followed my game dev stuff since, you know, basically the beginning, first of all, thanks for sticking around. There's probably only one of you who has done that, so thanks for doing that. You may have remembered that I did talk about the concept for this level before, and what I had settled on was that basically what I wanted to do is I had this ribbon idea already planned, but the way that it was going to work is that the upper ribbon was going to be basically a one-way trip. So, both upper ribbons, you'd be able to go to the end. Let's focus on me. You'd be able to go to the end of the ribbon, and then there'd be like a slide or something that would take you down to the lower one. And then from the lower one, you'd make your way back. And the idea for this level was actually that you needed to go to all 4 branches. You need to go to the top branch of the ribbon, and the top right, the top left, and the bottom right and the bottom left. And all 4 of those needed to be completed. Because I think the original idea was for the chisel to be a consumable item. So basically you'd use the chisel to chisel out one set of stairs, and then you'd need another chisel to chisel out more stairs, and another chisel to chisel out more, and one more chisel to chisel out even more. So there would be 4 chisels in the map, and that would require you to go to all 4 branches. And then the whole secret was, so just like in the seas, so one of the main problems here in the seas is that since this game is top down, you can't see out into the horizon, obviously, because you're always looking down. And so that what happens is when you are in your boat and you're sailing out in the middle of the sea, you can't really see where the islands are in the horizon. Like if you think of a game like Wind Waker, you know, has these vast seas where you're surrounded by blue on all sides. However, because it's third person, you can see ahead of yourself. You can see onto the horizon. You can see the silhouettes of islands off in the distance. And so that makes navigating fairly easy. You won't get lost. However, when it's top down, it's not quite the same. It's pretty easy to get lost out at sea because you don't get that horizon line. I mean, the nice thing is that you'll always know which way is north, or I guess in this case up, which way is down, which way is left, and which way is right. So it's not completely hopeless. It's not like you could rotate the map or something, which would probably really screw you up. But in order to but I mean, it's a pretty small area. And I gave plenty of hints throughout the level on how to navigate the seas. However, to help players navigate these seas, I came up with a quest, and this quest is specifically interacts with the community. This was my method of kind of merging the community aspect of the game into the level parts. And basically what it is that if the community level is high enough, the community happiness level is high enough, then you'd get access to a specific quest that would allow you to get a map of the region, and you could view the map and kind of get an idea of where you need to travel. So you'd be able to kind of get the view that you're getting right now, this zoomed out bird's eye view of the map. So in a way, if you are watching this and planning on playing my game in the future, this is kind of a cheat sheet for you right now, because you're basically bypassing the quest to get the map and just looking at it right now. Except you're not, because I haven't switched camera angles. Now you've seen it, now you can't. Okay, so the original idea for the cave was that what would happen is that if the community level was high enough, the quest that you would unlock would be that hint, is that the fastest way to complete the cave is to always start with the upper path, because it's a one-way trip down. So basically the hint would save players time, is what it would be. That's all the quest would unlock for the player, is just information. And I mean, I still kind of like that idea. It basically means you don't even... First of all, it doesn't lock players out of the quest if, for example, they... Oh, hello, Wallace Igloo. Thanks for joining. And my rambles about level design. Right now we're talking about this cave. So, basically, the way that I originally had wanted to do this was that you'd get information from the NPC about which path you need to go through first, and that would just make your life easier. And the one thing I liked about this is that if you're someone who just didn't want to interact with the community stuff, or you just hadn't interacted with it, or you're like playing the game a second time, is that it's just knowledge. The reward is knowledge, and you can carry that knowledge across to subsequent playthroughs, or you could just stumble into it by accident. So I still like that idea, but what I actually wound up doing for this level was not that. Instead, there is a required path that you have to take, and if you take the wrong path, for example, in this path, you have to take the upper path. You can't go through the lower path, because if you try to, you'll come up to this point and you'll realize, oh, that's a dead end. I can't do anything here. So they'll just have to leave and come back and take the upper path. They are forced to take the upper path. And that's the same thing here for the right side, where if the player goes through this path here, they will eventually come to this little lava river here and realize, oh, there's nothing I can do here, and we'll just have to go back and go through here. So no longer is this like my original idea. My original idea was that they could complete all four paths, the upper, the lower, for the left and right. No longer is that required. Instead, there's just one path for the left and one path for the right. So the way that the right path is going to work is, I actually really like this idea. So there's not a lot of puzzle solving for the lower path. So basically what you do is you come through here. You'll probably quickly find the fish that you need right here. Take that fish, and then you can jump across the river. Pretty brainless. And then you'll find this switch over here, and you will want to interact with it. And what it'll do is it will fill up this tank right here with water and give you access to a fish. And you'll realize, oh, hopefully the player will realize, oh, now with that filled up, I'll be able to get that fish and cross over here. So here's what this whole gimmick is for this ribbon, is that you are having to plan ahead for the puzzle. Now I have made plans in the event that someone didn't get that on their first time through, which is there's a high possibility that someone doesn't understand what they're doing. Like, they'll fill this up and wonder, well, what was the point of that? Right? Like, that's highly likely. So I've also planned for that, where you can see this little kind of rip in the wall right here. And I plan on making this interactable where the player can jump down. But it's one way. So basically it's costing them their time. Like, it's costing them the time. Like, if they weren't able to understand what they're supposed to do here, then they will have to jump down. It's one way, and then make their way all the way back around. And what's funny is this is going to be the end of the puzzle here. Right? So let's go to the next room. So, cave right, lower ribbon here. So once again, there's not a lot of puzzle solving here. There is some, though. It's not completely mindless. So they'll enter through here and jump across there. And you'll already have the fish here. And basically what you'll need to do is kill some enemies that are here, here, and here. So you have to take the fish, use the fish to jump across, kill the enemy. It'll spawn a platform to allow you to jump across, grab another fish, use the fish to jump across. It'll spawn a platform to jump across again. And when you kill them, it'll also spawn platforms here and here. So now you'll take the fish to jump here. You won't use the fish to jump here. Oh, hey, that's not right. I just realized that. Oh, I need to fix that. Ooh, let's fix that real fast. We need one of these. And that. There we go. Okay, now they can make that jump. What they will do is they'll jump across here. And then they can throw the fish here, jump across over here, and jump across over here. That will give them access to the right passage, which is just a passage. That's all it is. And bring them to the upper ribbon. But now, here's the fun part, right? So they will have these 3 tanks, and they will have 6 switches. 3 switches here, 1, 2, 3, and 3 switches here, 1, 2, 3, right? So, what these 3 switches will control is one of them will control a platform that'll spawn. So they need to decide where to put this platform. Then the other set of switches will control these 3 tanks here, here, and here. So now they will need to decide where do they need to fill the tank to get the fish. And of course, once again, they don't have access to that because they're down in the lower part and this is in the upper part. So here there is a slide down once again. So if whenever they get to this part of the map, if they just don't seem to be aware of, or if they made a mistake on solving the puzzle, then they can just jump down and get access to the puzzle controls right away and be able to solve the puzzle. But they won't be able to go back up. So I will cost them their time. They'll have to go back down, go through the passage, go through the lower ribbon, and come out here. And then they'll need to cross over here, go through here, and that'll bring them to the merge. In the merge, they will be here. They'll be able to get the fish right away. Grab the fish, throw the fish, jump across. Now, once again, they're going to be interacting with a similar element where there's going to be a switch here, and it needs to control one of 3 platforms, here, here, and here. And as you can see, to jump across, you're going to need a platform and a fish. So you have to figure out where to put the platform, how to get the fish. So that's the question. And technically, if the players wanted to, they could just go solve this puzzle, jump across. I sure hope they don't do that. I'm not going to stop them, but it would definitely be probably an infuriating moment if they just jump across, because they actually need to go over here first. So, going back to the Cave Central here. So, we already got the chisel, right? We talked about getting the chisel through this route over here. And that chisel will allow them to go up these stairs. But at the top of these stairs, my plan is that there's going to be a big gate. If this was like a Zelda game, there would be, you would call it like the boss key, and there'd be a big door. You need the boss key to enter the door. So just like in a Zelda dungeon, you have the whatever gadget that you get in the level to help you solve more puzzles, which that gadget will eventually lead you to getting the boss key. And once you get the boss key, now you can enter the boss room to be able to complete the dungeon. It's the same philosophy here. You got the gadget to be able to go up, but now you need to be able to enter the boss's room. So that's the whole purpose of the right ribbon here. And so at the merge, where's the merge? Here it is. You need to go this way to get the key. Now, like I said, I'm still working on this side, so actually I don't even have the room for the key yet. So yeah, as of right now, I can't even show that to you. So let's just assume the player's gotten the key, and now they will solve this puzzle in order to jump across. When they jump across, they will now be at the upper ribbon. Assuming that they had solved the puzzle when they passed through here the first time, now they will come through here and go up through this door here, which will just bring them to this little loop. Just a short little loop that will bring them around to here, and that's going to exit back out to the upper ribbon. Now I want to mention this room. It has been laid out, like the path has been laid out and all the walls have been established, but it hasn't had like the final detailing put in, like putting in some like rocks and some extra details in the tiles down here and stuff like that. None of that's been done yet, so it's a little bit barren, but we'll get to that. I'll get to that. Like I said, this is not finished. We're getting very caught up to where I had last left off in building this dungeon. So anyways, they'll exit out here. Assuming they had solved the puzzle correctly, they'll grab the fish. And they will jump here, throw the fish here, jump across, and that will bring them here. Now, I had forgotten when I had built this room that the exit is on the north facing wall here, and if we go back to this room, you'll see that the exit is on the west facing wall. So that's a problem. So my solution for this is kind of, I guess, like a brute force solution, I guess you could consider it. I haven't built the room yet. But basically all I'm going to do is make a very small room, very similar to like this room. And all it's going to be is just a right angle room. It's just a like that. So that way it exits out correctly into the north facing wall. So once I add that room in, they'll be able to leave here and they can exit out. Assuming they solved the puzzle correctly earlier, they will come up here, grab the fish, and use it to jump across. And now that they've jumped across, they will exit out here back into Cave Central. And now they will be able to enter the boss's room. Drink time. So, last week, if you didn't watch, which I don't think, I think you probably did. Well, I don't know if you actually watched up to the point where I actually showed off some new music. I did show off some new music. And what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to show a short preview of it. I'm not even going to risk accidentally forgetting to unmute my microphone. I'm just going to play kind of snippets of the song. If you want to listen to the whole song, I played the full song during my previous stream about playing bad RPG Maker games. So go check out my previous stream, and you'll be able to hear the full song. But anyways, let's just listen to snippets of it. Yeah, so that's a song. It's this. I really like this idea because it's not a loop song. It actually has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's because it's building up to. It is supposed to last exactly 5 minutes, and over the course of the song, it kind of gets progressively in steps. It gets progressively more and more chaotic. And by the end, you kind of heard it there before I cut it off. You start having these dramatic chords in the background. It starts having these funny little time signature changes in the middle of the phrases. Yeah, so it just starts building up more and more progressively, like chaotic and stuff, and it's really fucking cool. I really love this song. I've listened to this song like nonstop. I'm really proud of this one. But what's the purpose of it, right? So earlier in the stream, I had said I was going to talk more about this room. First of all, I love the name. It is Solfatara Piccolo. And don't make fun of my terrible attempt at an Italian accent there. So, Solfatara Piccolo is because the main, like, I guess, it's not the boss, but the main event that is leading up at the end of this dungeon is Caldera Colosso. I talked briefly about Caldera Colosso before, where Caldera Colosso is sort of like this mishmash of Battle Royale and the Colosso from Golden Sun. That's why actually Colosso is in the name of the place. Caldera Colosso is because it's an homage to Golden Sun's Colosso, because it was a cool idea. So let me explain what Golden Sun's Colosso is. I think everyone knows what Battle Royale is, so I'm not going to go over that, but let me at least elaborate on Colosso. So Colosso was this interesting point. It happened about midway through the game. I think it was a little bit later than midway. So you basically had gotten established with all your gear and all your equipment. I mean, this is a typical JRPG, turn-based JRPG. So you have your gear and your builds and your teammates and all of that, and then suddenly you get thrown into not Caldera Colosso. That's my thing. Caldera Colosso is my thing. You get thrown into Colosso, where basically it's just the main character, none of the teammates, and you get all of your items stripped away. And basically what it is it's an arena match, but before you take on the arena match itself, there's an obstacle course. In the obstacle course itself, there are different items that you can acquire. But here's the thing. You don't want to take your time on the obstacle course, because at the arena, the ring in the middle, at the arena ring in the middle, there is a powerful item and a weak item. So whoever gets there first to the ring in the middle will get the powerful item. And whoever gets there last doesn't get the power. They get the weak item. And the balancing on this, first of all, in Golden Sun is pretty great. Because yeah, if you get the weak item, whoa, you feel it. You feel it. So you don't want to just like take your time going through the obstacle course, collecting every single treasure chest that you find along the way. You want to try to get through it, collecting as many treasure chests as you can, but still making sure that you get to the arena before your opponent does. So, Caldera Colosso is sort of a like bastardization of Golden Sun's Colosso and Battle Royale. So basically the idea is you get thrown into Caldera Colosso and lose all of your items. We're going to talk about how that kind of becomes a problem with my game's design philosophy in just a moment. But anyways, let's just go over the rules. So you lose all of your items, and with your items now gone, you get 5 minutes to go from the center. So you start at the center of this caldera, this giant, massive arena with a giant obstacle course, right? You get 5 minutes to scour this huge arena for as many items as you can for a boss fight. But here's the catch to it. you have to make it back to the center of the arena before the 5-minute ends. So my plan is, hopefully, is to make it kind of confusing, right? So the main thing is you want to try to keep a mental map in your head as you travel looking for items to pick up along the way. And then before the timer reaches 0, you gotta be able to make it back to the center arena, touch the end in order to start the fight. So that's the idea. And I really like this idea. I can't wait to implement it. And so that's where the music comes in. So the music is exactly 5 minutes. Well, I mean, like, if you look at the sound file, it's 5 minutes, 14 seconds, but ignore that. Like, the last note of the song hits on 5 minutes. And then, there's, like, all the stuff kind of rings out after that. But anyways, yeah, it's exactly 5 minutes. So that's the reason why it kind of builds up and gets more and more chaotic, because you're getting closer and closer and closer to the 5-minute mark, and as you get closer and closer and closer, it gets more and more intense, right? So it's really fucking cool. I cannot wait to implement the music into Caldera Colosso. So that's the idea behind the music. Like I said, I'm really eager to implement Caldera Colosso. I've had this idea in my head for quite a while. I think I talked about Caldera Colosso when I talked about my concept for this level. So yeah, Caldera Colosso sounds fun. And I just realized something while I was talking about this too. That stream that I did last weekend, I played 66 Seconds to Save the World, and it just occurred to me that in a sense, it's very similar to Caldera Colosso, sort of. You kind of, like, in 66 Seconds to Save the World, you have a starting point and you need to reach the goal within a time limit, and so you're kind of searching around for the goal. My idea is that you start at the goal, and I suppose technically, if you were really feeling that daring, you don't even have to wait 1 second. Right when the bell starts, you can just touch the goal and go for it. Except you'll have no items and you'll probably fucking die. So the whole point is for the player to collect as many items as they can in preparation for the fight. Now going back to something I said that there's a problem with this concept due to the philosophy around this game's design, and that's choice. I've talked about this a lot, but the idea is that the player is able to enter any of the 3 levels at any time, so they can go here, here, or here in whatever order they want. It is their choice to tackle them however they want. So here's the problem. Say the player just started the game. They just started the game, they only have their basic equipment, and they decide that they're going to tackle the cave first. Now, in the cave, there's going to be some equipment that they'll find, and I'm hopeful that maybe they might decide to leave the cave and go to the item shop, and maybe they might pick up something, but they might not. And so they'll wind up getting to Caldera Colosso, and when they lose all their items, it's not really a big impact to them. Because they're, the main idea is, like, the one thing I deliberately mentioned this when I was describing Caldera Colosso, that it takes place kind of mid to late game in Golden Sun. I deliberately mentioned that for a reason, because when you've kind of gotten accustomed to having the power and having the safety net of the power of your equipment and the safety net of your teammates, it's all, it feels good. And then when it gets taken away, it really kind of reframes the whole game for you. And I like that. But if a player of mine were to go to Unity Cave and complete it first, then they would not experience the same thing of having everything taken away from them and having to reframe the power dynamic of the game. Now, if there was someone who were to attempt it later in the game, like if it was their last level, they probably have a favorite equipment and a favorite favorite tech or Tactic. Thank you. God, what am I thinking about? They probably have a favorite tactic that they want to use, and once they lose all their items, that may potentially harm that tactic, and they have to it reframes the whole combat scenario for them, and they have to kind of refigure things out. To be clear, by the way, they will get their items back in Colosso in Golden Sun. You get the items back after you get all your equipment back, and of course you get your teammates back as well after you complete Colosso. It's just when you're competing in Colosso, you don't have your equipment. And it's the same idea here, is that after you complete Caldera Colosso, you'll get all your equipment back. It's just the matter of searching out the equipment and then fighting the boss, and then that's really it. That's all that Caldera Colosso is. So yeah, anyways. Anyways, there's one interesting thing that may actually kind of balance this out. So it may actually completely invert what I was talking about with the reframing of stuff. I think kind of like a mid player, like if this was the second level that they did instead of the first or last, it may actually be the most challenging for them, because they're only going to lose their equipment. They're not going to lose their skills. And of course, as you level up, you unlock more skills. So this may actually affect the balancing more than I would expect, where basically a new player may be relying more on the equipment they have rather than the skills that they have, while a late game player may be relying more on their skills and less on the equipment that they have. So a mid-game player is not going to have very many skills to rely on, nor are they going to have a lot of equipment to rely on. So it's like the equipment is still important, but I don't know. Anyways, we'll see how that goes. I'm excited to see how Caldera Colosso turns out. I like it so much. I like the idea so much that I think if I'm going to make a demo of my game, I think Caldera Colosso is going to be the demo for my game. Because, first of all, it has kick-ass music, and kick-ass music is really going to help sell the game. And the other reason is, the idea that I have about putting equipment and items all throughout Caldera Colosso is that they're all going to be randomized. So, hopefully, what you get, like you'll be able to replay it every time and you could go to the same chest every time and possibly get a different item each time. And so I think that creates some replayability to it. I may also randomize the locations of chests. Like I might have, we could say that there's 8 chests, but there might be 16 locations for those chests to spawn. So, it's going to set their location to be in a different place each time. Maybe. I haven't completely decided whether I want to do that or not. And then the other thing is that it's in the chests themselves is going to be all the equipment that you can find in the game. Whether you've owned it yet or not, you can find it in the chest. To make something clear about my equipment system in my game, it's not like your typical JRPG equipment system where basically you just have, your standard typical tiered equipment, and then maybe you have some legendary equipment on the side that you might find in special things, but at the shops you just have your regular basic equipment. You start with an iron sword, and then a bronze sword, and then a gold sword, and then a diamond sword. It's Minecraft apparently, but anyways, you get the idea. So that's not how the system works. Every piece of equipment in this game has been carefully considered on how it could be used. It's kind of like I guess in a sense it's kind of like Nier Automata's chip system? Nah, maybe not really. Not really. How to explain it? Although, actually, speaking of Platinum games, not necessarily Nier Automata, but in Bayonetta, there were accessories that you could equip on Bayonetta. And usually, if they were only positively beneficial, then their benefits were very weak benefits. It was only a small buff. But then you'd also have some accessories that would have really great buffs, but also would have a negative trade-off. And my equipment system is very much like that, where there's actually two types of accessories you can equip. There's no fancy names for these. There's this accessory 1 and accessory 2. Accessory 1 are basic positive accessories. So these accessories just give you small benefits. It's not a lot, but it's a small benefit. But these small benefits could be multiplied by the accessories 2. And accessories 2 are very powerful accessories, but they usually also have a pretty big drawback to them as well. So it's to make you consider which one is appropriate for my playstyle. And so this is all to say that, like, trying different builds using the equipment is definitely something I want players to try, and that's what I like about Caldera Colosso, is it gives you kind of like a 5-minute playtest of different builds. And so, like I said, the equipment that will be in Caldera Colosso is just going to be all the equipment that you can acquire in the game. I'm not going to be like hiding, you know, it's not like I'm going to say, no, you can't have the legendary items. Like, that's the one thing about Colosso and Golden Sun, is that the equipment that you would find was kind of the basic equipment that you'd get from shops. You know, it was none of that legendary, like, really fancy stuff. So that would be the difference here as well with Caldera Colosso, is that the fancy legendary stuff can be found in these chests. You don't get to keep it, by the way, at the end. It's kind of a trade. Once you complete it, all the stuff that you found in Caldera Colosso gets taken back, but of course you get all your own stuff back. So what I like about this, I've been talking in circles here. What I like about this is that it works very well for a demo as well, because you'll get the 5 minutes to look around for some items, because everything's going to be randomized each time you play it. The demo may be very short, but each time you play it, you'll be able to get different equipment, and you'll be able to try different builds. And then you can take those different builds, which hopefully will be uniquely different, and test it out on a fight at the end. And that'll give you a sense of how the combat system works as well. And so it works pretty well for a demo. So that's the plan. I think that's how I want to do it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I'm pretty excited about Caldera Colosso, and I can't wait to show it off whenever it gets done. I don't know how far away I'm from Caldera Colosso, though. At least from laying out the map, I don't think I'm that far away from it, simply because, as you could see, is I have all of the left ribbon completed, so that's nice. And then the right ribbon is almost completed. I just need to add some detail to this room, and I need to add the other room here for the boss key. And then I just need to add the small little right angle room to transfer from here back to here. So once I've done all that, I do believe the right ribbon will be complete. And so from there, all I'll need to do is make the little like bridge at the top of the stairs here, that link the two together, build the boss room, and then build the entrance that goes into the caldera. Now, my idea for that one is kind of complicated, and I'm not completely sure. There's one idea that I really like, but is difficult to execute and may require me to hire someone to actually help me execute it. If I can do that, I will do it, but because the costs associated with it, I may not be able to do it. And that's basically kind of use parallax mapping and some images to kind of build up like this look where you're like at the top of it's basically a vista where you're at the top of a mountain. There's going to be the crater into the volcano, and then the player can walk up there to the top of the mountain and fall in. So that's the one idea. I don't know if I'm going to be able to execute that or not. So the other idea is going to be, I don't know, maybe something kind of similar. It's like this parallax mapping kind of idea is getting like more of a profile kind of shot, you know, a 2D side view instead of a top-down view. But the side view is what makes it complicated, is because you got to have all the parallax art and stuff. You know, my engine's not really set up for that, so you basically kind of have to fake it. through, you know, images and stuff like that. I said engine. My game is not set up for that. So it's not impossible. I'm just saying it's a lot of work, and especially for such like a small, like one-off scene. Again, I don't know if it's worth it, so just have to see when I get there. So option B, which is a little bit less complicated, is more of a top-down kind of view, as we have here in the game, and just have like a big hole like we see here. Oh, sorry, like we see here. Have a big hole that like we see here. I also just realized this, anyways, doesn't matter. I realized that I didn't show you something earlier when I was telling you to look at something, but it's because I just always forget to switch cameras. So anyways, but it'll just be like a giant hole like this that you see here, and maybe some sort of you know, I'll do some work with tiling to make it look like you're on top of a mountain, but you're like looking down from the top of the mountain. But you know, it's not going to be beautiful. So and that's probably what it's going to have to be. But I will try to do the profile shot, you know, 2D side-scrolling kind of view idea if I can. And once I have those parts completed, then I'll be able to start working on Caldera Colosso. Right, so I have rambled on for, see, I'm good at that. I've rambled on for a whole hour. Now, before I finish for today, I do want to finish soon though. Before I finish for today, there's one last thing I want to show off. Of course, I got to preface it, so let me get a drink. Again, for the viewers who've been keeping up with my dev streams, may have remembered a while back I had come up with a new... I wanted to completely redo my intro sequence for the game, simply because the story, although very similar to how the intro was handled, kind of, I kind of rewrote the story that kind of altered the direction that it was going. So it's not like I needed to change a lot about the intro, but there still need to be some changes to revise it. Well, I finally started working on that. I'd been talking about it for a while, and it finally got done. While I was rewriting the intro, I decided, you know what? I'm done with all this RTP stuff. I know what those letters stand for now. Runtime package stuff, default asset stuff. I'm done with all this default asset stuff. I'm just gonna fucking use... I have my own custom tile set that I made. It's not fancy. It's not at all fancy. It's very basic. But I made it, and it will definitely work for the intro, and especially definitely work for the new direction I've taken the game. I did have to make some revisions to my tile set. I had to add some new tiles to it that were a little bit more artistically involved, but I was able to figure it out on my own. I'm proud. And I would like to show that off. So, I would like you to see the brand new intro. Whoop-bam! We went from dark mode to light mode. Yeah, so before, I wish I could show off the before. Oh, do I have my backup? I haven't updated my backup in a while, so it might not have... I can show this off. Wait, you're not even looking at... You're not even... There we go. Now you're looking at it. Well, that wha-bam would have been way more interesting had I actually been focused. Whatever. Anyways, there it is. The backup, I haven't backed up my game in a little while, which is bad. But for this case, it's okay because I can show you what the previous looked like before, and we can just compare a before and after. So let's go to projects, backup. And this one. And you can see here I was working on the cave. Anyways, here we go. Here's what it looked like before. So here's the before. Here's the after. Before. After. Before. After. It's pretty fucking cool, right? So, Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this. So we went from a dark mode version here. This is all using the basic default assets. You can see over here, this is using the basic tile set. There's a purpose to this, and that's because it's kind of like carrying over from my previous game, which is free, by the way. Go check it out. It's linked in the description. It was carrying over from my previous game, where the previous game ended in a room very similar to this. So it kind of made sense for this game to kind of pick up in a very similar place. So it made sense. But after some thought, I realized, nah, I don't really want to use this. And story-wise, the new direction I'm taking my story, this right here, this white void, makes way more sense. Also, I did some, like I said, I did some custom art that was more than just, like, I know this is all really basic stuff. It's white and gray stuff, so it's very basic. It's very, you know, it's all geometric shapes. So yeah, like, first of all, I'm not saying this is an artistic masterpiece. Like, this was super simple to throw together. But there were some unique assets. So first of all, I use this chromatic aberration effect a lot throughout the game, which is just using, like, you know, pure red and cyan a lot. And I think technically that pure red should be a magenta, not a red, but doesn't matter. Anyways, those are the colors that I've used. So I've used this chromatic aberration, like, glitch effect a lot throughout the game. And so as an homage to that, you'll see plenty of these little cyan and red sprinkles kind of thrown throughout everywhere to kind of add a dash of color. So of course I had to create those, and these tiles here as well, of just, like, I guess you could say chromatic aberration explosions, bit explosions, sprinkle explosions, whatever. So those are around. There's also 2 special sprites that I made that actually look like competent shit. One thing I do want to show off, I don't think I've ever shown off the intro to the game, so you wouldn't even see the old intro, I don't think. I don't think I ever showed off the old intro, so I will actually show you the new intro. It's not completed yet. There's some bugs that are going on with it that I haven't completely figured out why they're there. And as well as there's other dialogue that needs to be implemented, because the whole intro has, it asks a bunch of questions, and all those questions have, like, you know, branching paths and stuff like that that kind of set up a bunch of different stuff that will happen throughout the game. If we run it now, is it going to run the intro? Yeah. Also, so here's one of the effects that I need to fix is hopefully you see it on stream. There's, like, a bunch of little sparkles that are going on. I know why those are there. I have a weather, quote unquote, weather effect that generates those sparkles. It's just that I need to set it to make sure that they do not display during the beginning. So that's one of the things that needs to be corrected. Anyways, here we go. Well, it seems we've recruited another controller. Let's dispense with the pleasantries and just get down to business, shall we? Before we begin the test, I would like to ask you some questions. First, I would like to know if you experienced our previous test, Fiddle and the Maker's Trial. Don't worry if you haven't experienced it. This is just for diagnostic purposes. Did you experience Fiddle and the Maker's Trial? And then you get asked yes or no. I also just realized that the text suddenly disappeared. That's interesting. It shouldn't have disappeared like that. That's another bug that I need to figure out why that happened. I think I already know why. But anyways, if you click yes, it's going to go through a series of questions. I'm not going to go through that right now. I just want to click no. I think if I click no, it's just going to bypass everything because I haven't actually set up any conditions for no. So it should bypass everything. Yes. All right. So here, there's this quote. There's something fun about this quote that I'm actually very proud of. It's not that it's Benjamin Franklin or anything like that. So what it is actually every time you play the game, it's a different quote. Well, it's not always going to be a different quote. It basically picks from a handful of quotes, and it will display it. And it makes sense for the context of the game. I mean, not entirely. Like, it's not completely necessary. There was a quote there before, but I removed that quote. And I've replaced it with, because that quote kind of no longer fell in line with some of the main themes of the game. And so that's the reason why there are multiple quotes, is that all the different quotes have to do something with some of the themes of the game, some of the concepts, some of the themes of the story. So yeah, I think it's so cool that it will play a different quote each time. My hope is that players who play the game on a second time or something like that, they'll be like, hang on a minute, did it say that last time? I don't remember it saying that last time, right? So it's a small thing. It's not necessary, but I really like it. So yeah. Anyways, so a lot of this stuff here needs to get redone as well. There's going to be some, that's a tutorial hint, but there's going to be some dialogue between Fiddle and this other guy. But all of that's going to be replaced. Because, like I said, I had to redo the intro, so we'll just kind of breeze through all this. So, if you look over here, there is this chest. So here's some custom art that I made. I actually, it's still fairly basic. I'm not saying, this is, super good art. I'm not claiming that, but I am proud of it. That is what I'm claiming, is that I'm proud of this art, and it's even animated. Wow, look at that! So the entity actually fits within the world as well. So yeah, I made that chest to match my black and white and sprinkles landscape. There's one more entity that I had to make as well that I'm going to slowly make my way towards. Almost there. There's going to be 3 triggers. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, 4 triggers. Okay, now you're probably wondering about the lever to the right. Ignore that, that's for debugging purposes. That won't be there in the final game. The other piece of art that I did is this crystal. So, let's bring up the old, I think I already closed out of the old project. Yeah, I did. So if we bring up the old project, the backup copy here, go over here. So first of all, you can see there's the original chest. This is what was there before that I had replaced with... Oh, right, because this is the backup. I was going to say, why isn't it here? But that's because this is the backup, so it doesn't have the modified chest file. And same thing over here. Here's the crystal. So it used to be this crystal, but I have replaced it with this crystal, which I did myself, and I'm quite proud of. And you can see it also has the chromatic aberration effect on the side, and also it even has little glowing shadows underneath it. You can see on the top right of the shadow there's a very subtle blue highlight, and then on the bottom right side of it there's a subtle red glow hue, whatever, to it. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. They're very basic, but I think they get the message across. So that is the new intro. I'm quite proud of it. It looks good, man. Yeah, if we zoom in here, I can show you what I was talking about earlier. So here is the chest, and you can see I replaced this chest row right here with my new chest, and same thing over here. So I replaced this crystal up here with the new one. So, yeah, new intro, and also the new dialogue, some of the new dialogue still being worked on. There's also some bugs with it that I need to get figured out. But yeah, this was exciting. I had to take a break from working on the cave because I had worked on the cave, pretty much all last week and most of this week. In fact, actually, I think it was just last night. I was like, you know what? I'm a little bit tired of working on the cave. Let's switch over to this. So I've only kind of worked on this for 2 days, but I got a lot of work done on this done yesterday. A lot of work. And a little bit more of it done today as well. So, yeah, so I feel refreshed being able to work on something different. So, anyways, I think that's it. Oh, there's one last bit of housekeeping. I probably should have put this at the beginning of the video that I forgot. So, last week I did reviewing like other RPG Maker games, and it went very well. Relative to my normal viewership, it did well. You know, like normally I get about 8 to 10 views. That varies dramatically for some reason on my game dev streams. But usually, you know, I don't think it's very rare for me to exceed 15 views. There's been some occasions I've exceeded 15, but it's very rare. So let's just say in the range between like 8 and 15 is kind of like the ballpark for these dev streams. So when I do a video and within the first few days it gets 45 views, that's doing pretty well in comparison. So yeah, of course it's not a lot of views, but I'm proud of that metric. And so I think I would like to do more reviewing RPG Maker games, but actually not RPG Maker games. Mostly RPG Maker games. But here's the other thing, is that I don't want to be known as just the RPG Maker channel, which of course my titles and thumbnails are not doing me any favors in that respect, and that's okay for right now, but I do want to kind of occasionally kind of drizzle in some other games from other engines as well. So first of all, if you have any free games you want me to check out from smaller, well, free games actually, just let me know in the comments below. Doesn't matter what engine it is. It can be Unity, it can be Godot, it can be Game Maker, it can be whatever, Unity, Unreal, I don't care. For now, I'm going to be like 90% RPG Maker and then like 10% something else. And then over time, I think those percentages will kind of shift a little bit. But for now, yeah, mostly RPG Maker. Now, the other reason why I bring that up is just because its performance was so well. Originally, I had wanted to do those maybe like once every 3 weeks or something. But considering the performance of it, it's in my best interest, and also it seems the interest of the audience, that I do more of those. And so that's kind of the plan, is I would like to do more of those. I am coming up on a summer vacation where I will have lots of free time. And so what I think I want to do is actually, during my summer vacation, I might do 2 streams a week. Only during the summer vacation. That's not a permanent change to my schedule. And what this is going to be is that I'm going to have one day is going to be dedicated to playing RPG Maker games, because there's a bunch of games I would like to try. So there's going to be one day that's dedicated to playing RPG Maker games, or other games, not just RPG Maker. Just playing games, reviewing them, doing the first impression thing like I did last time, and then there's going to be like my normal game dev thing. And I'm hoping I can do another big topic video like I did with the RPG Maker has a terrible reputation video. I would like to do more of those. I'm kind of having trouble putting together another video. I've kind of reached out to some other people to try to get help with a couple of different video concepts I have, but have been unable to get them on board, so, which is unfortunate. So I have one more idea for another big topic video that it does require someone. I haven't reached out to them yet, but I have a feeling they're going to be more willing to contribute to the project. I got to reach out to them first. So anyways, I think that's going to be thrown in there somewhere. So like during my summer vacation, I'll be doing bad game reviews, as well as doing my regular game dev streams, and then hopefully at the end of somewhere at the end of summer, maybe at the beginning of September, I may have another one of those big topic videos. Hopefully execute it better than my RPG Maker has a terrible reputation video. But yeah, so that's the plan. I think so. Expect more streams in August, playing more RPG Maker games. If you made it this far, let me know about games that you want me to try down in the comment section. If you've made a game, I'll try it as well. I'd almost kind of prefer that if you're the one who made the game rather than you recommending someone else's game. There's nothing wrong with you recommending someone else's game. Do that. But if you've made a game, I'm going to be more likely to look at it if it's your game than if it's someone else's game. So, yeah, with all that said, that's going to be the end of the stream. Make sure to check out the links down in the description below. There's going to be links to RPG Maker Has a Terrible Reputation. Of course, all of my stuff to support me. For example, there's my previous game. Go check it out. It's free. My novel that I wrote, it's not the best. I know I'm not selling you on it, but I've talked about it a lot. I like it. I love it. But it definitely has a lot of plot holes in it. But I still love it to death. And it's free to read, so you can go check it out. And of course, there's my music that you can check out as well. It's not free, but it's worth every penny, so you should definitely check it out. And of course, there's also a link to my Discord channel, my Discord server, where there's not many of us in there, and it's pretty quiet, but you can hopefully come and liven up the place a little bit and talk about whatever you want. So, that's going to be that. Thanks for sticking around. Like, comment, subscribe, description things, and the end. Bye.